Welcome to the Simply Real Life podcast. I'm Sarah, the founder of Simply Real Health, here to help you simplify, amplify, and elevate your life. This show is for those of you who want the real talk on how to live a more intuitive and intentional life, a life that's healthy from the inside out, and one that feels more effortless, aligned, simple, and more alive. We cover it all, from health, wellness, mindset, motherhood, daily habits and rituals, to business and relationships, creativity and growth, and tiny tricks to feeling your best, and the energetics behind it all filled with personal stories, unfiltered conversations, and of course, answering all of your burning questions, all in the way of simplicity and keeping it real, so that you can create your own version of your healthiest life. Let's do it. Hi guys, welcome back to the show this week. I cannot believe that it's been a couple weeks since I have sat down to record. In my mind, it's been a week, but yet as I sit here and record, it is spring. How did that even happen? Some of you know that my big goal the last couple of years has been making winter more fun. I guess I did that if I'm looking around being like, oh wow, okay, we're through the darker part of the year and we can tie that one up with a bow, move forward. And I feel very excited about that. Maybe that is just the dear Pacific Northwest Seattleite in me, but I am ready for the energy of spring. I always find that it's such a different shift from winter. I don't know if any of you feel this way too, but I feel like of all the changes in the year, going from winter to spring, and then maybe a runner-up of going from summer into fall, those are the two massive shifts. But it's like we're at these pivotal turning points, both in our own energy, but the energy of the collective too. The energy with the weather and hours of daylight. And so I cannot believe we are at this point in the year, but yet it feels so good. And here I am with open arms. We're ready for it. And before we jump into today's topic, because I think it's going to be a pretty good one, or maybe a controversial one, depending on your perspective. But before we jump into that, a few things to share with you on that note of winter turning into spring, where my brain mostly goes when it is this in between both of the seasons. It's a very special time and you can really mine it for gold instead of making these intentions and you totally forget about them. And you're like, well, great, on to the next season. Here we go. What's new? What's fun? What's exciting? And you kind of forget all things before. And in the last couple of weeks, I've found myself going back to read through what I wrote down and what I'm really wanting to focus and create for the year, but also what were my goals for winter? And I'm happy to say that I feel like I really kept my word to myself this year. And I hope that a lot of you are also feeling the same, because when you are able to, one, think about it, two, write it down, and then three, have times and places where you remember to look at what you actually wrote down, like that can be life-changing in itself. Our minds so quickly forget even things that we find very important to ourselves. And so the process of like revisiting, it's not just writing goals down. It's not just writing your intentions or how you want to feel in any area of your life. We need constant reminders of those things and constant reminders of the ways that we want to be and the ways that we want to feel in order to really make those changes and to become the type of person who steps into those changes. And so for me, this winter was so much about back-end systems, like launching a new website, which so many of you were helping me celebrate that last week, this massive undertaking. And to be honest, it has been a 2-year project because it has never felt quite at the top of my priority list. I know I've spoken about this before, but in this stage of life that I am in with young kids and back-to-back pregnancies that were really rough and took me down for 6 months at a time, I'm still finding that I can focus on one thing every day. I work a couple hours every day, and it is enough time to get one thing done well, maybe 2 or 3 secondary things, but no more than that. And I know that will sound wild to so many of you, but for me, it's been this really intense practice of focusing on what actually matters. So things like a brand new website, I've just been ignoring for about 7 years because I've been in this season and pretending that nobody's really looking there anyways. That's what I've told myself. But now that it's done, I feel so proud of myself for actually sitting down and taking the time it takes, pouring all of my attention into that. The last couple months has felt so good. And then just been a lot of like back end stuff, which was really my plan. January, February, and beginning of March to get things set up so that the rest of the year feels easier and more fun, focusing and doing the things that feel exciting to me and the groups and community. All of it requires head down to work on systems and structure. That may not be in a business sense for you, but it could be systems and structure internally in your home or in your life. The way you have things set up, are they running well? Does anything need to be changed? Are there new ways to do things? That's really what this winter has been about for me, as well as for creation time. And that can also be a very common theme in winter, is planting these deeper roots. And so for me, that was launching the motherhood pilot, which has been, oh my gosh, you guys, so incredible, just amazing. And the types of conversations that we're able to have. I honestly feel like I am on drugs sometimes when I leave those calls and when I leave the Insiders Club calls, because I'm like, oh, this just feels so good to have this small, intimate group, this powerful community talking about real stuff that actually matters, like the real things that we face and the things we think and the ways that our minds create all these different loops for us to jump through every day, and dismantling a lot of that and learning to rewire your brain so that you can ultimately have this healthier and more intentional life. It's just been amazing. So that's been the sum of winter. I feel ready for spring. Spring just has this lightness and this energy and this new growth. It's like all of the seeds we planted in the winter, or maybe even before that. Now we're starting to see like, okay, where's that taking us? How are we feeling? There's enough time since we've planted to now start to see these new signs of growth and different potential and different opportunities, and starting to see it all come together, as well as change in weather, change in food, change in your daily routine. So many things that change this time of year. And so just really leaning into that natural shift. Okay, I will be back, once I get my head wrapped around spring and what we're doing. But that does remind me that next week, if you're hearing this and it's already started, that's okay too. But I created something really fun this year to harness this special power of spring. Some of you may remember in years past, I've done like a 5-day challenge. And this year, I feel in a totally different phase. I am like ready to, let's just do this bigger. Let's make this more fun. Let's make it more exciting. My community, they had done it maybe 2 or 3 times with me. I'm like, let's mix it up and do something new. I want to create some new challenges, some new fun things. So we are doing a 30-day challenge to kick spring off this year. They're really all of my own favorite little tips and habits and practices, things you can try on to see, how does this feel? Does this make me feel more energized? Do I feel a difference in my mind? Do I feel a difference in my body? They're all about little things that you can do every day. So we do one challenge every day, all around this idea of tiny things that you do are the things that actually add up the most to how you feel. So every single one of these challenges is under 10 minutes. Totally doable. Even if you are busy, I know that you can find 10 minutes in your day to do something for yourself. And so we're doing this for 30 days, this challenge of one thing a day. And I'm so excited for it. It's $30 for 30 days, and we are starting March 16th. So depending what day it is when you listen to this, it is okay if you come join late. You will still get so much out of it. Every day I'll be in there coaching and teaching and giving you an assignment for the day and things to think about, and also the reasons why I'm having you do those certain specific things, because they are the things that really make the biggest impact for the smallest amount of times. I'll put the link in the show notes. Again, you can join even if it's already started. This is just a great way to get some momentum and accountability and support with the whole idea of let's do it together. The energy's high. It's so fun doing it in a group to hopefully give you really great momentum as you head into the rest of spring and into summer. These are meant to be things that you are able to continue doing. They're not time-heavy things or things that have to be done perfectly. These are just to give you ideas of how easy it can be to do something good for yourself every single day and how much that will add up and change how you feel. So I'll put the link below if any of you are curious. It's going to be so much fun. Okay, so let's get into today's topic because it's such a juicy one. And if you're still here after that enormously long intro, congratulations. So today's question is one that maybe I would think to avoid in other years past, but I'm like, you know what? Let's just go for this. I would love to share with you what I actually feel. And I always feel very inspired by the questions that you all ask. And I want to give you honest answers, not just surface level stuff, but here's what I do actually think. Okay, here's the question. She said, what do you think of all the trends going on right now? Counting your protein, different biohacking devices, peptides, GLP-1s. What's your take on all of this? I've noticed that you haven't commented a lot on it. This person knows me so well, but she said, I would love to know your take. Okay, I'll tell you for real. Protein gram counting. Actually, first of all, before I answer any of these specifically, I just want to say that I hope that you all are doing the things that feel right to you. There is no one way to do something, and there's no one right answer. And even if it's something that I disagree with or something that I fully agree with, like, doesn't mean that it's the right fit for you. And I really hope, and I know this too, like the type of woman who is drawn to my content and our community does have this deeper knowing or recognition of, hey, like, do what works for you. It doesn't matter what anyone else is doing. What matters is if it feels good to your body, if it feels good in your mind, if it feels right intuitively to you, go for it. Like, who cares what anybody else thinks? That's truly my perspective on all of it, which is oftentimes why I'm not commenting on any of these trends in the wellness industry or wellness culture. I just feel like, great, if it works for you, go for it. But I can give you my take on at least what I'm choosing to do for myself and the reasons behind it so that you can ask yourself those questions as well. So number one, protein gram counting. Do you do this? No, I do not do this. I have learned just over the course of 20 years of trying every single trend in every single diet, like you name it, I've tried it. And it created this very negative relationship to food, like a really bad relationship to food, where it was all about doing things perfectly and almost acting like a robot, measuring and counting and just breaking food down into these components that you could argue from a logical standpoint, like, well, you really need to track it from a scientific standpoint. But you know what? It made me crazy. And I think it makes a lot of women crazy because there's this whole element of food that is not talked about, which is food is your life force. Food is this thing that's meant to be enjoyed. It's meant to be something that's celebrated. It's meant to be a gift to your body. It's not just these like robotic elements, but it's about how we interact with it mentally, physically, and energetically. Like, I know some of you might think that's crazy, but there's this entirely different way to relate to food that is not only calories in, calories out, or like protein grams in, protein grams out. And yes, protein is great for you. So is healthy fat. So are vegetables. So is fiber. I've just seen too much. I know too much. And the way that I prefer to look at my food is as a source of life, as a source of energy, as something I want to have a great relationship to, a joyful relationship to. And that means not getting too caught up in the weeds and not counting and measuring and I'm doing this right. I'm messing this up. Oh, it's all a wash now, so I might as well start over. I am just done with that kind of thinking around food. And I can tell you, and this may sound wild to some of you, but the minute that I stopped doing that was when I finally felt great in my body. Like finally my body could let go of weight and let go of all the anxiety, all the stress, all the thinking about food, all the obsessing over it. It's like that creates so much stress in your body. Even if in your head don't think of it as stressful, but the stress energetically, the fixation and the obsessing over things like creates this really negative vibe that I think makes us hold on to weight. The things that we're eating that way for usually it's having the opposite effect when we go at it so hard and so prescriptively and without any sense of trust in your body. I just think fixating on one element in your food always feels like a fad to me. But yes, protein's great. We need it. We need it for a lot of different reasons. But you know your body best. You know what's going on in your body. For some of you, maybe if you're eating no protein at all, like, yes, it's a great thing to keep in the back of your mind. But in no way do I think you need to count and measure and go for twice your amount of body weight in grams per, every day. It's like that kind of leads to this very unbalanced, unpeaceful way of looking at food, which has a physical impact on our body. I really do believe that. And when you focus on just one nutrient like that, you sort of forget about the rest. And so I think there's going to be so many more cases of SIBO and digestive disorders and problems with our colon and problems with hormones. And you can already start to see those trends. You can see that it's coming because this hyperfixation on protein means people are eating less vegetables. They're eating a lot less fiber. They're staying away from things like beans or lentils or legumes or whole grains, where they're such nutrient dense foods. And I just think we need a balance of all things. We need a variety of real food. And every day your body might need something different. Some days you might be craving or needing more protein. Some days you may not. So listen to that. And I'm just always a fan of, instead of putting all the power on outside forces like diets or fads or trends, or even if it's a famous doctor saying this is what you should do, or somebody on a podcast, there's a million different books, a million different perspectives. And I always come back to what's true, what's wise, and what's simple. What's true and wise and simple is eating real food that we can digest. What's true and wise and simple is that we need different things, especially as women, different weeks out of the year. And we need to learn, I think, to listen to that instead of putting all of our power in other people or outside of us to like tell us what to do or how to eat. And so there's so many different reasons why, no, I do not count protein grams. Like I don't find that helpful. I think it sets off a very weird relationship to your food, fixating on one thing, forgetting about the rest. It's something important. I eat it. I weave it into my day, but it's not something that I fixate on as with any other like food component. Okay. Next, same thing about biohacking devices. I feel like if you love it, if it's life-changing, great. But a lot of these things, sometimes I have a little bit of an issue with, because people get so drawn in by the promise of it does these 6 different things and it's so good for you. And listen, I have a red light mask. I think that's great. It's cool technology, but I don't have 6 different things in my morning routine. And there's a reason for that. And I think that at least right now in this phase of life, don't forget about the things that are maybe not as sexy and flashy and as expensive, but they really do work. You know, if you're like working on your nervous system, you don't necessarily need a mat to lay on that's going to, change your molecules of energy. Like if that's your thing, great. But for the most part, they're being marketed to people who really want that end result. But at the same time, those same people would benefit so much from doing the foundational things in small ways every day that matter. Again, back to this 30-day challenge. Let's not forget about the things that actually do matter, so many of which are free, so many of which are simple. If you want to reset your nervous system and your energy, go outside and take a few deep breaths of fresh air. Like that will probably do the same thing as a mat, but there's not money to be made, I guess, in that. And I love that there is technology and advances and that there is all of these options for us. It's great, but I also feel like it can be these flashy things that people spend a lot of money on when the reality is I wish they would take that same money and invest it in their mindset, in figuring out the wiring of their mind and why they have limiting beliefs around certain things around their health or their career or motherhood or whatever it may be, like, or invest it into your grocery bill every week of having great quality food or doing something that's actually going to change who you're being as opposed to these devices. And I always kind of giggle at how people have their morning routine videos with the red light mask and then the vibrating plate and then they lay on this mat. And then you could also do 10 jumping jacks. You could get a little rebounder trampoline. We just got one in our house for the kids, but I'm like, I'm totally going to get on that thing. So yeah, that's my take on them. It's not necessary. You don't need it to live a healthy life. They're nice to have. I feel like it's a very specific person who maybe loves tech and loves devices and tracking or metrics. My husband is very much into that, whereas those types of things really can throw me for a loop where I'm like, if your Oura Ring sleep score wasn't perfect and it really makes you fixate on that, and then you tell yourself that you don't feel as good because of it, when reality is if you didn't have that tracked and you didn't really know, would you be feeling like, man, I'm so tired today. I'm dragging behind and like making it this big thing in our head. So I also think it's knowing your personality, what actually helps you versus what is maybe more of a distraction. Okay, next conversation, peptides. I don't know if any of your all feeds are filled with people like injecting themselves with peptides. Mine are. And I just find it fascinating. Again, peptides are being, they're promoted as natural and not quick fixes, that they're chemical components that are meant to support like certain pathways in our bodies, right? So there are some that are specific to inflammation or some that are specific to digestion. And my thought is if you have a very specific thing going on, and you've tried all of the other foundational things: food, movement, working on your mental health, maybe doing energy work, somatic body work, all of these things, and it still feels like it's a puzzle. I feel like for 90% of stuff, once you are taking care of the foundational things, those other bigger things usually resolve themselves. But I could see a case for having it be something that you're doing as like a healing protocol. But for me, I don't have any of those big things going on. So I don't really have a reason or a desire to be injecting anything really into my body. But I also feel like sometimes it's the flashing new thing. And there's a little bit of like quick fix mentality that's irresistible for most people of like, oh, you're telling me I could just take a shot or a pill instead of having to do all of these other 8 things that take care of my body, my mind, my spirit, my energy from that holistic perspective. And I think there's a little bit of that going on, and not for everyone, not for everything, but I do think there's this tendency of like, ooh, that looks like it's easier. If I could just do this and that takes care of like all my symptoms, and that I don't really have to get to the root cause of why those symptoms are happening. That's where I'm like, I don't know, a little questionable. We just don't know. They just have not been around for very long. And I'm always someone, again, I come back to like what's wise, what's true, what's real, and what's simple. And really trusting the wisdom of our bodies when it's given the right setup and supported with good foods, and you're supporting your mind and you're supporting your emotional health. I think there's a lot to be said for that. So those are my hesitations and reasons why, like, I particularly am not doing them, but maybe I will change my mind as I get later into my life, as hormones start to change, or, if you're looking for different ways to support. I feel like it's not the same as taking like a pharmaceutical drug, but also I feel like they're really expensive. And my only question when people get on them, I know that there are so many cases where people who need them that are healing, or it's life or death, or there's a lot of cases, a lot of people or peptides where it's needed. What we see now is people who are not necessarily like needing it, but maybe they're wanting it to maybe look a certain way, or to drop the last 5 pounds or 10 pounds, or you see it in Hollywood. Did that person really need to go on like a GLP-1? It's just an interesting time that we live in, where all of this technology is at our fingertips, and all of these resources where a click of a button or injection, you could change your body. You could change what it looks like. You don't have to look at any of the reasons why your body is holding on to weight, or why your autoimmune conditions are flaring, or why these health challenges are coming up. And it may be related to things like, your nervous system or your emotional health, our body stuck in fight or flight all the time. It just makes me hesitant, because I feel like it can be a very quick cover up the symptoms and don't look at why is this happening, or what's the root cause. And so that's just my own take on it. I am not somebody who would ever choose or want to put something in my body if it didn't need to be there, because I always think there are side effects, and there are always downsides, and there are always things that we find out like 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road, like, oh, whoops, we didn't calculate that. Oh, the study didn't go long enough to see like what the long-term impacts of that are. And that's always where my mind goes. What's the long-term game here? If it's covering up something that is at the root cause, that you're just going to be on that the rest of your life. Like for me, it was one of the reasons when I had all the stuff going on with my thyroid, and I had hyperthyroid come on suddenly, that I was like, I am dead set on figuring out why this is happening in my body, and not just saying, okay, I want to take thyroid medication for the rest of my life, and then having to slowly up it as the years go on. It doesn't feel like what I want for me. And if there's a way to not do that, that's what I'd vote for. So taking that into account, maybe I should have said that part at the beginning, but I'm like, you have to come back to your philosophy, what you believe, the way that you like to think about things. Is it for the short term? And maybe that's your hope, is it gives you momentum to then figure out what the long-term game plan is, or enough to make some type of change so that then you can maybe keep it going on your own. But I think what it comes down to, and this is actually funny how this is tying exactly back to what we were talking about in the beginning, but these things that are available to us, they're fancy, they're flashy, it's really enticing, it's really appealing. Do you mean I could just do this and then I don't have to do all this work, and I don't have to put myself through all this time and energy to figure out why my body's doing the things that it's doing? And I see why people do that. That's most of America, I would say, would like want to hit that easy button. and not have to think about it. Because that's just how our culture is. It's like, okay, whatever I can do to put the least amount of effort, least amount of time, not think about it, just run on autopilot. Versus the way I look at things is like, I want it to be intentional. I want it to be foundational. I want it to be something that's for the long term. This is going to benefit for the long haul. This is a long-term game plan, and would rather put the work in little tiny ways every day, doing something for my body, for my mind, for my emotions, rather than have stuff build up over time into these bigger things that then need bigger things to solve them. So again, comes back to, can you do small things daily and consistently to take care of yourself? Doing that in small ways every day creates the person that you become, and the type of person who is choosing, I want to do this out of wisdom. I want to do this to make my life more simple, to make it feel more peaceful, to feel more present. It comes back to what matters to you, to your values, to the ways that you want to operate, and which things align with your own perspective and desires and which things don't. If that is choosing any of these options, great. I have no judgment. Do what feels best for you. Every person is so different. Every case is so different. But I'm just explaining the reasoning behind when I look at things like this, or whatever the current trend is, whatever the current fad is. I always run it through. Is it wise? Is it true? Has it been around for thousands of years? Do we know the long-term consequences? If not, it's probably something I'm not doing unless it's like a very dire situation. So that's just my perspective since you asked. I hope that that inspires you to think through in your own life the ways that you're vetting things, the ways you're taking them in, whether it's a food trend or whether it's a workout trend or whether it's with the devices or it's all these different things we're seeing with peptides and GLP-1s. I think there's going to be an influx of those every single year. And so you really have to think, how do I feel about these things? How am I going to approach these things? Just giving yourself a really good filter so that whatever comes our way, we can quickly take a temperature. Like, does that feel intuitive to me? How do I feel in my gut? What's my instinct about that? Does it align with my values? And let's just take away judgment of others or what other people do. And so whatever your choice may be, like, have it be something that feels good to you, and that it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing or how they go about it. If it's something that feels aligned to you, then that's really, really what matters. Okay. I love you guys so much. I hope that this was helpful or just made you think or maybe brought up some other questions. I would love to know. Come find me at Simply Real Health on Instagram. And I hope that you have a great week, and we'll be back here soon with answering another question. Talk to you soon.
If you enjoyed this episode and want more like it, make sure you're subscribed to the Simply Real Life podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and maybe share it with a friend or two. That would mean the world.